Hoda Kotb and Savannah Guthrie have always been known as a strong team on the Today Show, but a sudden crisis tested their loyalty in a way no one expected. At 61, Hoda decided to speak openly about a painful situation that shocked the entire staff. She gently pulled back the curtain on Savannah's public image and showed viewers what was really happening behind the scenes. The details were emotional and serious, and many people wondered if their friendship would survive such pressure. In September 2024, Hoda surprised viewers when she announced that she was leaving the Today Show. She had worked at NBC for 26 years and felt it was time for a new chapter. That summer, she turned 60, and the milestone made her think deeply about her priorities. She said she wanted to spend her time differently and focus more on her family. Her final day as a main anchor was January 10, 2025. The farewell took place at 30 Rockefeller Plaza in New York City, where a larger studio was used to welcome friends, colleagues, and fans who wanted to celebrate her long career. Her daughters, Haley and Hope, joined her on set, making the day even more special and emotional. After leaving the show, Hoda moved to Westchester to begin a quieter life as a full-time mother. She spoke honestly about her reasons for stepping away. Her youngest daughter, Hope, had health problems that required constant attention, and Hoda wanted to be present for every important moment, from breakfast in the morning to bedtime at night. She also launched a new company called Joy 101 and began developing a wellness app focused on positivity and personal growth. She often joked about enjoying simple activities like attending PTA meetings and walking with other mothers in her neighborhood. For about a year, she lived far from the early morning alarms and fast-paced news cycle. Everything changed on February 1, 2026, when a crisis began in Tucson, Arizona. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie, suddenly went missing. Savannah had to leave the show immediately and fly to Arizona to work with the FBI and local police. Her seat next to Craig Melvin was left empty during one of the most stressful weeks in the show's history. On February 9, 2026, Hoda made a surprising decision. She paused her retirement and returned to Studio 1A, not as a guest but as a main anchor once again. She told viewers and staff that she was stepping in so Savannah could remain with her family during the emergency. That meant leaving her peaceful routine in Westchester and going back to waking up at 4 a.m. She also had to explain to her daughters that she would be on television again for a while. Hoda's return brought comfort and stability to both the staff and the audience. She stayed calm while reporting updates about the search for Nancy Guthrie. Police were investigating a masked suspect and possible ransom demands. Despite the chaos, Hoda kept her voice steady and changed the tone of the show, bringing reassurance to viewers. Many people understood that she had come back because of a promise she once made to Savannah, a promise of support no matter what happened. For years, the Today Show described itself as a family. On February 6, 2026, Hoda proved that this idea was real. She sat beside Craig Melvin and Chanel Jones and shared the history of her close friendship with Savannah. During an emotional segment, she spoke about how deeply the situation hurt her heart. She reminded viewers of a difficult time in her own life in 2023 when her daughter Hope was hospitalized. Savannah had been the first person to arrive at the hospital. Hoda said she clearly remembered seeing Savannah walk through the doors when she needed support most. Returning to the anchor desk was her way of standing beside her friend during another painful moment. While Hoda remained in New York, Savannah stayed in Tucson, working closely with the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI. Investigators found blood on Nancy's porch, and tests confirmed it belonged to her. A doorbell camera had been disconnected at 1:47 a.m. on the night she disappeared. Authorities were searching for a person seen on video wearing a mask and carrying a backpack. Hoda carefully shared these facts with the public. She wore a yellow ribbon on her jacket to honor Nancy, and the studio was decorated with yellow flowers to show support for the Guthrie family. Hoda spoke about Savannah with warmth and love, saying that the entire nation was praying for Nancy's safe return. This approach was different from traditional news coverage. Hoda allowed viewers to see her hope and concern, showing that this story was personal. Because of the crisis, major plans were changed. Both Hoda and Savannah had been scheduled to travel to Italy to cover the 2026 Winter Olympics. Savannah remained in Arizona, and Hoda gave up her trip to help keep the show steady. The network had to adjust expensive plans, but it showed that their commitment to each other mattered more than anything else. Nancy Guthrie had lived in Tucson, Arizona, for over 50 years. She grew up in Kentucky and graduated from the University of Kentucky, where she worked on the student newspaper. In the early 1970s, she moved to Australia because of her husband's job as a mining engineer. Savannah was born there, and 2 years later the family returned to Tucson. In 1988, tragedy struck when her husband, Charles, died of a heart attack at age 49 during a business trip in Mexico. Savannah was only 16, and Nancy suddenly became a single mother of 3. Savannah often described her mother as incredibly strong and disciplined. Nancy took a job at the University of Arizona to ensure her children could attend college. Even in her 80s, Nancy remained independent. She lived alone in the Catalina foothills and was known for her sharp mind and deep faith. She attended a Baptist church regularly and stayed closely connected to her family. Although she had limited mobility and needed daily heart medication, she managed her life with determination. On January 31, 2026, she had dinner with her daughter Annie and her son-in-law. They dropped her home around 9:50 p.m., and that was the last time her family saw her. The investigation became even more serious on February 3, 2026, when a ransom email was sent to media outlets, including TMZ, demanding $4 million in Bitcoin. The message was written in a cold and organized way, like a business contract. It warned that if the money was not paid by February 5, the amount would increase to $6 million by February 9 at 5 p.m. The note included specific details about what Nancy was wearing and mentioned damage inside her home, information that had not been made public. Because of this, the FBI treated the threat as real. The kidnappers provided a cryptocurrency wallet address. FBI cyber experts monitored it closely and noticed activity on February 11, suggesting the criminals were testing the account. However, converting $6 million into Bitcoin within such a short time without raising legal and banking concerns was extremely difficult. As the deadline approached, tension grew. Savannah and her siblings released a video stating clearly, "We will pay." Despite this, the kidnappers did not provide proof that Nancy was alive. There were no photos, videos, or phone calls. The silence after the deadline passed created fear and uncertainty. On February 7, 2026, Savannah appeared in a video with her brother Cameron and her sister Annie. She looked tired but determined. She confirmed that they had received a message from the captors and understood the demands. She said their mother's life was priceless and that they were prepared to meet the conditions. Although the FBI generally advises families not to pay ransom, Savannah made it clear that nothing mattered more than her mother's safety. She chose calm words and asked for peace, hoping the kidnappers would respond with compassion. The problem remained that the family had no proof Nancy was alive. Paying millions without confirmation was a terrifying risk. Cameron had earlier asked the kidnappers for direct communication, but as the February 9 deadline passed, there was only silence. The lack of response forced the Today Show team, led by Hoda, to strengthen their public support even more. By the second week of February, the atmosphere in Studio 1A felt heavy. The shock of the kidnapping had turned into constant anxiety. Hoda understood that public attention could fade quickly, and she did not want that to happen. She continued wearing the yellow ribbon and reminding viewers to keep Nancy in their thoughts and prayers. Her steady presence on air allowed Savannah to focus entirely on working with investigators in Arizona. Through all of this, the true depth of Hoda and Savannah's friendship became clear. They were not just co-workers reading from a teleprompter. They were two women who had supported each other through hospital visits, family struggles, and career challenges. Hoda's return showed that loyalty is proven in difficult moments, not easy ones. As the investigation continued and the world waited for answers, one thing was certain. Their bond had been tested by fear, pressure, and uncertainty, but it was built on years of trust and shared experiences. Whether facing joyful milestones or painful mysteries, they stood together, proving that sometimes friendship can be stronger than even the darkest crisis. Hoda decided that even if the show could not share every secret detail of the FBI investigation, they would make sure that no one could look at the screen without thinking about Nancy Guthrie. If they could not reveal everything the authorities were doing behind the scenes, they could at least keep Nancy's name and face in the public eye. Hoda understood how quickly news stories can fade, and she refused to let that happen. The idea began in a simple way inside the wardrobe room at Studio 1A. Hoda and the styling team talked about bringing back a powerful symbol that has been used for many years to represent hope and waiting for a loved one to return safely, the yellow ribbon. On Monday morning, February 9th, Hoda walked onto the set wearing a small but bright yellow silk ribbon pinned carefully to her jacket. It was noticeable but not dramatic. Within minutes, something meaningful happened. Al Roker, Craig Melvin, and the guest contributors all began wearing the same yellow ribbon without anyone officially asking them to do it. They understood the message and joined her silently. The ribbon was more than just a decoration. It was a psychological message. Hoda wanted the kidnappers, wherever they were, to see that the entire country was still paying attention. She wanted them to know that this case was not disappearing from the headlines. At the same time, she knew Savannah was likely watching the broadcast from a hotel room or maybe from a police station in Tucson. That sea of yellow on the screen was Hoda's way of reaching out and hugging her friend through the television. The response from the public was immediate and powerful. Within 2 days, viewers from across the country started sending photos of yellow ribbons tied around trees, mailboxes, and fences in their neighborhoods. From small towns in Maine to busy streets in California, people showed their support. In Tucson, the movement grew even stronger. Local shops began giving away yellow carnations. Neighbors tied strips of yellow fabric to the gates near Nancy's home. The symbol spread quickly and became a national sign of unity. Each morning, Hoda would share one of these photos on air. She used the massive reach of the Today Show and its social media accounts to turn a private family tragedy into a public vigil filled with hope. She also worked closely with the set designers to change the look of the studio. Yellow roses were placed on the anchor desk and in the background of interviews. The color yellow, often connected to friendship and hope, filled the screen. Hoda wanted the mood to stay focused on hope and return, not only on fear and loss. During commercial breaks, she sometimes glanced at the flowers as if they were giving her strength. They reminded her to keep her voice steady and calm for the millions of viewers watching. She understood that people were looking to her for reassurance during an uncertain time. While the show carried the message of hope in a professional way, Hoda's personal Instagram account became a more emotional space. Late at night, after she had put her daughters to bed, she began posting simple messages. She shared family photos of Nancy and Savannah, writing short captions like "Bring her home." These were not polished public relations posts. They were real family pictures, showing Nancy laughing at birthday parties or sitting on a porch with her daughter. By sharing them, Hoda made sure people saw Nancy as a real person, not just a headline. On her Instagram stories, Hoda sometimes spoke directly to her followers from her kitchen. She still wore her makeup from the show but looked tired and honest. She thanked viewers for sending tips to the FBI and asked them to keep sharing Nancy's photo. She repeated, "Don't stop." Hoda knew that kidnappers often prefer silence and darkness. She was determined to shine as much light as possible on the case. Her online posts created a personal connection that television alone could not achieve. People started tagging law enforcement agencies and asking for updates. The search began to feel close and personal to anyone with a phone. Hoda wanted Savannah to open her phone in the middle of the night and see thousands of messages of support. She wanted her friend to know she was not alone. While the public focused on ribbons and prayers, the investigation moved into a technical and serious phase. The FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department carefully examined Nancy's home. This was not only a missing person case anymore, it was a detailed crime scene. The intruder had forced open a back door. Inside, there were clear signs of a struggle. A lamp was knocked over, and a small rug near the kitchen island was pushed out of place. Nancy's cell phone was found on the counter, still connected to its charger. Outside on the porch, investigators discovered drops of blood that did not match Nancy's DNA. This suggested that the kidnapper may have been injured or that Nancy fought back bravely. The FBI used the blood sample to create a profile of the unknown suspect. They ran the DNA through national databases. Although they did not find an exact match, they were able to narrow the search by identifying certain genetic traits. This helped reduce the number of possible suspects. Doorbell camera footage provided more clues. At 1:47 a.m., a grainy image showed a person walking across the driveway. The individual wore a dark hoodie, a mask covering the lower face, and carried a backpack. The suspect appeared to be around 5 feet 10 inches tall with an athletic build. He carried a handgun and a small flashlight. The way he moved suggested preparation and possibly training. Investigators believed this was not a random act but a planned crime. About 2 miles away, search dogs found a discarded work glove near a drainage ditch. DNA inside the glove matched the blood found at the house. This confirmed the suspect had fled on foot before likely escaping in a vehicle. Authorities searched through traffic and security camera footage in the surrounding area, looking for suspicious vehicles seen near the home before the kidnapping. The digital investigation was equally intense. The ransom demand had asked for $6 million in Bitcoin. FBI cyber experts tracked the cryptocurrency wallet. The account had been created using a mixing service designed to hide transactions. However, the kidnappers made a mistake. Someone tried to access the email account used for the ransom note from public Wi-Fi at a truck stop near the New Mexico border. The FBI quickly responded, collecting surveillance footage from the location, though the suspect was no longer there. Investigators also examined Nancy's daily routine. They learned she had recently had work done on her pacemaker and had contractors inside her home. Police questioned these workers to determine if anyone had information about the layout of the house or knew she lived alone. Authorities believed this crime was targeted, possibly because of Savannah's public profile and the family's perceived wealth. As weeks passed, the FBI focused on individuals with connections to both Arizona and New York. Every tip from Hoda's social media and the official hotline was reviewed carefully. Even with strong evidence like DNA in the glove, the biggest problem remained a lack of proof that Nancy was alive. Without that confirmation, every passing day felt heavier. During this time, Hoda noticed changes in Savannah. To the public, Savannah appeared calm and professional. But Hoda saw the deeper struggle. Savannah had been raised by a strong and disciplined mother who believed in showing no weakness. She had learned to stay composed no matter how difficult life became. That strength had helped her build a successful career. Now, however, it seemed to trap her. Savannah was trying to manage the FBI, local authorities, her siblings, her own children, and the public at the same time. She spoke about the case with control and clarity, almost like a reporter instead of a daughter. Hoda understood this was part of the way Nancy had raised her. But she also worried that Savannah was carrying too much weight alone. In private phone calls between New York and Arizona, Hoda encouraged her friend to breathe and rest. She reminded Savannah that being human and emotional did not mean being weak. At 61, Hoda had gained wisdom from her own life changes. She had stepped away from the spotlight and realized that no career mattered more than mental peace and family. Watching them during this crisis showed the true strength of their friendship. They were more than co-anchors. They were sisters in spirit. Hoda had sacrificed her peaceful retirement to stand beside Savannah. She understood that true strength includes asking for help. As the investigation continued, many people wondered whether Savannah's calmness was protecting her or limiting her. Was the strong composure she learned from her mother keeping her steady, or was it preventing her from fully feeling her pain? One thing seemed clear. Hoda's support was a powerful source of strength for her. The bond between these two women had survived years of early mornings, personal struggles, and career pressures. Now it was being tested in the most painful way. Through yellow ribbons, late-night Instagram posts, and steady on-air presence, Hoda showed that loyalty means standing beside someone when everything feels uncertain. The question remains whether this unbreakable friendship is the reason Savannah continues to stand tall during the storm. Perhaps strength does not always come from hiding emotions, but from knowing someone is holding you up when you feel like falling. Let us know what you think about their bond and this emotional journey. Share your thoughts in the comments, remember to like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to check out the next video on your screen.